Hey everybody, Courtney here, and I'm just going to be tying my little Dirty Sancho. This is a new little streamer pattern that I've been playing around with. Took it out fishing the other day, did really well with it on the river. Great little Euro streamer. This features a Umpqua Series X Series. It's that model number there, size 14, and it's got a size 4 slotted copper tungsten bead on it. And the main thing I've had a lot of questions about is the dubbing. The dubbing that we're going to be using is this Senyos Dirty Bird dubbing in that Dirty Martini Olive. So super cool dubbing. It moves really well. Had some questions about it, the fly itself and the dubbing. So I thought we'd make a little video on it here rather than just an Instagram reel. So moves really good in the water. Big 4-point-millimeter bead kind of helps that kick around as you're bouncing it off the bottom. You can let it swing too. It's a great little fly with lots of action on it. So for the thread, I'm using UTC 70 in the Fire Orange, Flow Fire Orange, I believe. You can use whatever, a little hot spot collar on it. And I do have a little bit of lead just tucked up under the head there, about 5 wraps of 0.010 lead, just to kind of help keep that bead in place from rolling around while I'm tying this. So I just started my thread along the hook shank. We're going to tie in a little bit of a tail with this Dirty Bird dub. So I'm going to leave my thread hanging right at the middle of the hook shank. And you pull the dubbing out. It's not going to flow in the same direction, which is, you know, it's fine. It's going to be a pretty messy dubbing. It's going to be really buggy. So I'm just going to pull out a few strands of this. Okay, so I don't need a lot. And I'm going to make somewhat of a tail, just kind of a body extension is really all I'm trying to achieve here. But I'm going to grab just a little bit more. And all I do is just kind of preen it, try to get it so when I tie it in, I'm getting the majority of that material tied in. So it's got a little bit of olive barred marabou in there and a little bit of, it looks like angel hair, some flash in there. And I'm just going to tie this right onto the halfway point of my hook shank. And I'm going to take just the half length of the feather there. And we'll just tie that down right to the middle. I'm going to bring my thread up towards the bead and just wrap up and tie this excess up the front right to the base of the bead. And then we'll just fold it back. And we'll wrap down the hook shank. I'm going to wrap back just to before the hook bend. Leave our thread hanging there at the back of the fly, get a nice little tail sticking out the back there. Now when I first tied this, I did a dubbing loop, thinking that dubbing loop would be the best way to tie this dubbing in, and then the first fly worked great. Then I tried it again, just rolling it onto my thread, and it worked just as good too. So for time's sake, if you want to save a little time, I'm just going to roll it on to my thread here. You can do the dubbing loop, whatever your favorite flavor of putting your dubbing on is, you can do that, but this is just a quicker way to do it. So I'm going to roll that on there, fairly loose noodle, it's not super tight. And then the goal here is to make tight wraps with my thread. So I'm locking that dubbing in. So I'm adding some tension there to my thread, and then we're just wrapping forward one wrap right in front of the last, kind of touching wraps as we go. And the nice thing about the bigger bead is it's going to give us enough space to finish our collar here at the end when we tie in our squirrel. And then I'm actually going to peel this off here and just wrap right against the bead there. This brushes out well. I'm going to use my Velcro brush just to kind of rough that up, get those fibers moving out. That's the kind of the benefit of the dubbing loop, is you don't have to work this out nearly as much. But we'll get that going out. You get the same effect either way you dub it though. But we'll get that marabou just kind of flaring out and flowing towards the back there. Okay, so that's what we end up with. You could fish that as a little leech. For stillwater this spring too would be a great little fly for stillwater fishing, just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put on the squirrel zonker strip here. And I like the squirrel zonker. I just like the look of it, and it moves obviously really well in the water too. But what I like about it is it's small and compact, so you don't have to have a big rabbit strip there that you're fighting with, so it ties in a little easier. Now, if I were to tie these on a size 12 or 10, I probably would size up to a rabbit zonker strip on these. But for this one, the size 14, this is a squirrel zonker, works really well. And all I'm going to do is just I try to find the thickest hide that I can on these zonker strips. And we just cut one, I don't know, 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches long there. We're going to just size it up to the fly, but I'm just going to pierce that hook right into the center of the squirrel zonker. I'm going to make it a little longer. I want my tail to be a little longer so it moves really well in the water. Just going to take the hook out of the vise, shimmy that zonker strip down and around the hook band. Back in our vise, and then just gonna make sure I just sweep all that hair back so there's nothing that gets trapped. Take my little comb here. Okay, and then this is where probably the most complicated or challenging spot of the fly. Sorry, my fingers are right on the camera. I'm gonna pull that strip tight towards the bead, and then I'm gonna take my thumb and index finger, my left hand, and just kind of sweep those hairs down. And then I'm going to bring my thread up and around, kind of a loose gathering wrap, pull down tight, seating that right against the bead. It's challenging if you have big sausage fingers, and when you touch your hook, it covers the whole hook. So it can be a little challenging. Fingers are kind of big there, so it makes it a little hard. But 3 or 4 wraps there just to kind of tighten that down. And then I'm going to take a really sharp razor and just going to come in here with this razor blade and hold that hide up, and we're just gonna cut that hide out. Get that down really close as we can. Okay, and then what I like to do from here is just take a little bit of Zap-A-Gap and just brush a little bit on my thread, get a couple drops on there. Sweep any of the fibers back, and then just wrap that Zap-A-Gap around the collar there so it seats against that zonker strip. Add a little durability, okay? And then from there, we are just gonna dub the collar. I'm gonna take just a little bit of that Dirty Bird dub again, just a few strands. I mean, there's 5 or 6 strands there is all. And I'm just gonna roll that on. Kind of just clean up the collar a little bit. I like having a clean collar on my flies. Wrap that around. I don't need much. Pull off the excess that I don't like. And then I'll finish by my thread right up against the bead there to kind of build that little bit of a hot spot. And then I'll just lightly brush this out and try not to pick my thread with that Velcro. But you can see it gives it a nice flowing effect with that marabou dubbing. Moves really good. There's nothing that moves better than marabou and squirrel hair or rabbit hair. I think both of those just make a streamer so much better. We'll sweep everything back. Let's do 2 wraps there. And then we'll whip finish. And we've got a nice completed Dirty Sancho. So there it is. Fantastic little micro Euro streamer. So play around with it. Leave me a comment if you go and tie one up and fish it. Hopefully it works well for you.